Let's talk about the Nats general manager search, Kratz. Mike Rizzo was let go in July, and Mike Derdoslo is the interim GM. But Bob Nightingale first was reporting about it, and then the story came out in The Athletic. Ken's involved in that story, and they are interviewing a number of candidates, which include Carter Hawkins, the Cubs' current GM, Diamondbacks executive Amiel Sawdaye, and Dodgers Senior Vice President Josh Byrnes. What do you think?
I think Derdoslo, from what I've heard from Nats people, had a lot more to do with some of these massive trade hauls that they've brought in, and why he's not the one that's up for it, I don't know. But whoever they bring in, whoever it ends up being, if Carter Hawkins is the guy, they need to build up this minor league system. And I don't mean with just people that are traded and brought over. I'm talking the staff needs to be able to produce more minor leaguers that have a big league impact. Everybody that's had a big league impact was either their first pick in the draft, which there's not a lot of development with, or traded and picked up from another team, which there's not a lot of development. It's just like, hey, we're going to give you 200 at-bats in AA, 100 in AAA, and then you'll come up to the big leagues. Like, that's whoever they get, that better be their specialty.
For the record, or at least according to the article, Derdoslo, who's the interim GM, is in the mix. So he is among the candidates. They're just listing other ones. They're doing their homework, which I will give them credit for.
Smart.
Wait. So they're going to hire a new GM, and they're going to do, at the very least, what's called an info suck and find out information about how other teams are operating. Not every team does that, but good on the Nats for doing it. Let me give you a little bit more context on Carter Hawkins, since I think he's the highest position-wise of the external candidates, and he's the face on the article there. So he's the GM of the Cubs, and in the article, they said with the Cubs closing in on their first playoff berth since 2020, Hawkins has been involved in revamping the club's R&D, research and development department, and streamlining scouting on the pro, amateur, and international sides with a bigger emphasis on data and video rather than in-person evaluations. He was hired away from the Guardians after the 2021 season. Cubs have been developing much better lately, if I'm using that as a blanket statement, and Sahdev Sharma somewhat agreed with that yesterday. So that would be a good sign and would play into what Kratz is talking about. If you're the Nats, you need to develop more players.
Yeah, we also need people that are actually seeing players. I don't agree with just the full, we're going to go full A's and go no scouts in the field, because the A's haven't won anything. The A's haven't won shit. So let's also establish that. You got to have people out there watching guys to get to know the players. Just watching them on video doesn't give you anything on their makeup or any of that. You got to actually have communication with players and see them play and see them struggle and see how they react.
Mm-hmm.
When I ran into Carter Hawkins in the Guardians organization, Indians at the time, he was part of the group there, the front office group there, that really did a good job of weeding out coaches and front office who, without mincing words, weren't good people. Like, the group of people that the Guardians have there now in the front office coaching staffs, their exact wording was, yes, we want good coaches, but we want people who can really lead men. So if Carter Hawkins can bring that over to wherever he becomes a GM next, wherever he becomes a president of baseball operations next, I think that organization will have a leg up. Look at what Chaim Bloom did with the Red Sox. Yes, he got the short end of the stick, as, you know, they didn't give him any money to spend and he got fired, but you're seeing a lot of that come to fruition. That starts not just with the players that are picked, but with the coaches that are in the minor league system. So I know for a fact, because I saw Carter Hawkins in those situations with the Guardians, that's his background, and I hope he would bring that, and not just the like impersonal, hey, we're going to watch everything on video and never actually get our eyes on somebody.
The other thing for the Nats is eventually they're going to have to figure out what their plan is from the tippy top. The ownership situation was they're up for sale. It sounded like they didn't get the price they wanted, and they haven't been putting much into the team. So where are we at right now?
Yeah, are they going to sell? Are they going to stay? Or are they going to buy some players? Because that was always a thing when they won. They went out and got players.
Yeah. And they don't have to lead the league in payroll.
But they need to go out and get the Max Scherzers, the Patrick Corbins, those guys. Jason Worth to come in and fill the right roles.
The star power worked for them, the star power acquisitions. Remember Max Scherzer at the time? People are like, what? You're paying him what? He was worth every penny.
Back-to-back Cy Youngs.
Yeah. He gave you the individual. He gave you the World Series title. He gave you everything. We spend a lot of time on the road. We are often concerned about our online security when you're logging in from all over the globe, really. So you should maybe look into a VPN. What does that stand for, Kratz?
Virtual Private Network.
Boom. Nailed it. And that virtual private network that you should look into is called Surfshark. It is time to take control of your online security and try Surfshark today. You can enjoy their 30-day money-back guarantee and secure your digital world right now by visiting the link that we'll post there for you and start surfing securely. Surfshark.com/foul or the code FOUL at checkout will get you 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN, aka Virtual Private Network. It's a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Surfshark's unique VPN benefits include use on unlimited devices in 100 countries and 24/7 support at surfshark.com/FOUL. This has been your tech update. Keep your data safe. I thought this past season was going to be the year that they made a little push. Kratz, I was like, maybe they'll go get an ace. Maybe they'll go get a big boy bat to go along with some of the younger bats and show them the way. They just didn't do it. So that's part of this. And that's not going to be controlled by whoever they bring in next. I mean, whoever they bring in next, hopefully eventually is with, I would say either an ownership group that's recommitting or they're moving on. I think they're moving on. I think they're going to sell. I'm pretty confident that they're looking to sell. They just want to wait until they get through the next collective bargaining agreement, which sounds like it's the case for almost all of them at this point. Doesn't it sound like many of the owners are pulling back because they think they're going to get more after the collective bargaining agreement gets settled?
Yeah, but they're not going to sell 3 teams in 2027. You can't. There's just not that many people that have that much money just hanging around to purchase teams.
I disagree.
Like you think, because then also those guys are getting sucked up by the teams or the new expansion teams too. Like you're talking people in the billions. So
yeah, but these are people in separate cities. AJ, where do you stand on this one? For me, let's use the Twins as an example. They said, we are selling this team for $1.7 billion. Plus you take on, I think, about $400 million of debt. And there were billionaires in the running. And it sounds like most of them valued it at around 1.5. And maybe that even felt generous because really 1.5 is 1.9 because of the $400 million in debt. That's real money. And so they said, this is what it's worth. And the Twins laughed and hung up the phone on them. That's a real story in The Athletic. So I think there are interested parties, but there's a line even for billionaires where they're like, I have to pay an extra $200 million for something that I already think is mispriced. Like how much of a tax is there? Everybody has their limit. They don't have unlimited money, even though they're billionaires. So do you think that those 3 teams could get sold post CBA?
I don't know if that's what they're waiting for. The Learners have been talking about selling this team forever. So I don't know. I mean, the Rays are about to be sold in the next, I think it's going to become official probably in the next couple of weeks here. The Twins are got to get sold at some point. The Nats, who else? The A's would like to be sold at some point, but
yeah.
The White Sox are going to be sold at some point before 2029, according to the agreement that was signed. So there's teams. People will buy these teams. You just have to find the right people to buy the teams, because there's been people that have bought teams also that haven't been the right people and they haven't worked out. Then Frank McCourt comes to mind with the Dodgers, right? He bought the team, didn't have the money, but he got the deal of the century. He still gets all the parking, even though he doesn't own the team. He worked out a deal to sell the team, but he keeps all the parking, which is valuable as heck because there's no overhead on the parking. You just collect money. That's a great. Frank, call me. I want that deal.
Well, from what I recall, and it was a minute ago, he was borrowing a ton of money. He was backed up in debt and some other issues, and they wanted him out. And he had some leverage, and he's like, cool, I'll get out, like you're asking, but I want the parking lots. I mean, didn't we just hear about this with Stu Sternberg with the Rays? Where eventually the league's like, hey, dude, it's been 20 plus years. It's not working. You got to get us a new ballpark so we can move on here. And now he's selling the team and still gets to keep a little bit so he can profit off the back end. But anyway, getting back to the point here, Nationals fans, Kratz, feel like the biggest problem is that the team has sat out, but it's going to be up to someone else to figure that out.
I think there's a fundamental just personnel issue with ownership. Like if ownership doesn't allow GMs to go and spend money, you can't do anything about that. And as good as Mike Rizzo's was like he probably, he's the one that came out of this unscathed because they won a World Series. But every year the organization, if you go there at the end of the year, they start cutting people at the end of the year. They cut coaches from their staff. They cut minor league coaches out. Like it's an organization that lacks fundamental like employee satisfaction, because I don't think ownership really cares about what the product is on the field, especially after they got their World Series. So fans should be pissed off when they don't make a move, especially with the young core that they have in place.
Yeah, they were always famous for trying to lowball managers. Remember, they almost had Bud Black. They lowballed him. So anyway, you can look all of that up, but we'll keep everyone posted on the search here and see how it goes.